So one of the things that I think is really cool when we talk about interest groups is so many of the things we talk about in this class reinforce that like less people are participating and apathy and people have become disconnected. But the reality is that participation in interest groups continues to rise and rise and rise, actually at a really dramatic rate. So today we're going to kind of reconcile that. Like my objective today is for you to kind of have in your back pocket some examples of interest groups, what they do, how they work, but also kind of like for you as a citizen, would these be a viable option for you? If you don't like political parties, would interest groups be a place where you might be able to have some kind of civic participation or some kind of commitment? You studied interest groups a little bit in U.S. history, but I don't think that you really kind of get the ramification of how important they are. But they're really, even though they've been around for a while, it's probably since the 1970s that we've just seen a significant increase, maybe even the 60s, like a very significant increase in this form of political participation. And I love this quote from de Tocqueville to kind of think about, like, why? You know, what is it about us that interest groups are they're like such an awesome opportunity for people to participate? And one thing is, I think that we like to be with people who are similar to us. You know, there's nothing about, like, being with people that have common interests or common ideas. I mean, it's just like an opportunity to associate with people in that way. And I think interest groups do definitely give you that option. Mike?
Maybe a part of it is that the foundation of what a lot of people believe is that we're set out, it's very individualistic, our society is very individualistic.
Definitely.
And so it's nice to be working with people towards a common goal.
I like that, you know, and I also think that, you know, interest groups, generally speaking, are an opportunity for more individualism because you're not put into this huge, broad, like, I fit into this category or that category. Here's some examples. Do you recognize any of those? Which ones do you recognize?
NRA.
I would think the NRA. You guys learned a lot about the NAACP and it's in history, and it's still around. The AFL-CIO, that's the largest labor union in the United States, and they are a massive force in terms of interest group activity. National Organization for Women, you learned about them, like with the Feminine Mystique and Betty Friedan, and they're still definitely around. So when you look at these and you kind of think about interest groups, one of the things you can recognize is that they're like a lot more narrow. You know, if you join the National Rifle Association, you care about guns, like very specifically. So yeah, they are a more conservative interest group, generally speaking, but there's a lot of people that belong to the NRA that probably don't agree with a lot of things the Republican Party says. You know, there's people that join, like maybe the National Organization of Women, but it's because they care so strongly about very particular issues, and it's such a cool outlet for them. But they don't have to fit into all of this kind of stuff. Here's the definition of an interest group, or here are characteristics of an interest group. There's some kind of commonality to them. There's an organized structure. It's like a formal group. You know, you don't just call yourself an interest group. But most importantly, they want to influence public policy. Dolly, how is that different than a political party?
I think political parties are trying to get nominees into office, and they're more focused on the election itself rather than changing public policy.
Perfect. Political parties are election focused. Interest groups are policy focused. Political parties want to get elected in order to change the policy. Interest groups just want to influence policy. You will never see on your ballot a National Rifle Association candidate. You will never see an NAACP candidate or NOW or any of those things. But I do want to show you just here. I'll show you guys kind of right here. So we got both of these flyers at our house in the last week. And so this one is from a group called Texans for Fiscal Responsibility. So that's the name of the interest group. And this tells me, it says that we proudly endorse these conservative champions. And it has my name on it. So it was sent straight to me. And I don't know why, because I don't belong. But here's a list of who they want me to vote for president. Supreme Court place 3, Supreme Court place 4, and 2 Court of Criminal Appeals. Those are the people they endorse. But they would never be identified on the ballot. So they care about the election. The election is just not their tool themselves. Okay? Same thing. Sierra Club at our house. So a very conservative group, a very liberal group. So based on whatever lists we're on somehow, some way, based on our political activity, these are the things we get. And the Sierra Club is telling us that we should vote for Lon Burnham. They put his picture on there. And this is all the reasons why. So it's not that they don't care about the election or they're not active, they just don't run a candidate. Because for them, they just want to get elected people who can create policy the way they want them to create policy.
They care more about the issues than winning.
For sure. They're issue focused because they're policy focused. Okay? All right. Why do you join? Like, what's the purpose in joining an interest group? This is one of the things that's going to be really different with political parties. Not all people join interest groups because they're political. In fact, a lot of people join for completely different reasons. Sometimes you join an interest group because it's like a club. You know, I mean, you think about the groups that you guys associate with, either formally or informally. When you put yourself in a group, it's because you're trying to make friends, or you have the same kind of interests or the same kind of ideas. So my husband does belong to the Sierra Club, and he gets a magazine from them. And I love it because if you flip to the back, they have vacations that the Sierra Club sponsors. I mean, you have to pay for them, but it's like take vacations with other members of the Sierra Club. And it's things that would be like of particular interest to them. And some of them are like super like eco, like go save this tree or whatever. And some are just simply like fun vacations. But if you think about our society, people are so transient. You know, they're moving around all the time. Many people don't belong to community organizations like they used to. Well, this is an opportunity to do that. Like you're connected within your community to people who have similar interests. Some people join because they get stuff. Like all kinds of interest groups offer you all kinds of things, incentives. Join our interest group and we'll send you this free backpack or this coffee mug. Or like even broader, like this group right here, Aarp, they are one of the most powerful interest groups in America. What's it stand for?
Something about retired.
Good. It's the American Association of Retired People. Their power and their influence in this country is phenomenal. Old people vote, old people have time, but more importantly, they have this recruiting mechanism that is phenomenal. Remember when my mom turned 50? She called me because she was upset, and she got a thing in the mail from Aarp. She works, I mean, she was not retired, but at 50 she could join Aarp. And you pay your $25 or whatever it is, and you get a car rental discount card, like hotel discount, like all this kind of discount travel things. And then you get this magazine with issues for people 50 and over, and you know, just all of this kind of stuff. My mom's not a very politically interested person at all, and she totally joined because she's like, oh yeah, that's really cool, $25. So think about all the people in this country that are like that. They take that money and then they can accomplish political things. If you belong to the Screen Actors Guild, which is an interest group, you can get health insurance, which is really hard for actors a lot of times to purchase. If you belong to like any kind of professional organization, the American Medical Association or something like that, that's an endorsement. It like adds some kind of credentials to what you do professionally. I belong to the Association of Texas Professional Educators for the sole reason that they provide me like legal protection if somebody were to sue me in my capacity as a teacher. So but then the ACPE has this political arm, and they use all that money from teachers then to try to accomplish very political kind of goals. And finally, you join because you really care about the policy, the intensity of it. I really feel strongly about abortion. I really feel strongly about guns. I feel strongly about the environment. There are tons of environmental interest groups. There are tons of interest groups out there protecting different kinds of civil rights or different kinds of civil liberties. People feel intensely about those things, so interest groups are a great opportunity for that. Okay? All right. What I noticed in my last class is that they were not very comfortable with what it is that interest groups actually do. So we're going to see if you guys can come up with that. Okay? So from your reading, there are a few basic tools of interest groups. Anybody got any ideas?
Donating money.
Okay, they donate money. I'm going to give you a specific term for that. I'm not sure that your textbook used. It's called electioneering. Okay, so electioneering means donating money, but remember, they must form a political action committee if they're going to do that. So not all interest groups donate money. You
Sounds
can't
like
even see that, can you? Sorry, you guys. So it's the word is electioneering. I'll write in black.
A lot of labor unions do that, right?
Yeah, probably. Y'all are gonna go look up some examples. Better? A little bit? Okay. All right. What's another thing interest groups do? Good. We're going to make sure that we understand lobbying today. I hate the way your textbook uses lobbying. It concerns me because I think it can confuse you. So here's where it comes from. So here I am. I am a lobbyist. I am a paid professional that works for Greenpeace. So that means that I care a whole lot about the environment. And Shakiria is a senator, and I know that she sits on a committee that's going to be taking action on a particular piece of legislation that I care about a whole lot. So I try to get appointments with her, and she's dogging me and not like meeting up with me. Well, finally, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to wait in the lobby of the Capitol building where she's doing work. And when she comes out of her committee meeting, I'm going to run up and say, "Hey, Senator Shakiria, can I have a moment of your time?" And I'm going to try to influence her. So that's where the idea comes from. Today, lobbyists are members of Congress really rely on lobbyists as a source of information. They lobby to kind of like provide technical information about things. You know, like if you think about congressmen, some of them are really pretty intelligent and well educated, but that doesn't mean they're knowledgeable about every area of policy. And so lobbyists are like, that's their job. They're paid professionals. They make a lot of money if they're very good at their job. Some people lobby like as a volunteer, so not everybody is a paid professional. So lobbying can be a couple things. It can be providing information. It can be trying to persuade. It can even go so far as actually writing legislation. So I could write a piece of legislation about, what I want to happen in, waters off the Gulf Coast. I can give it to a senator. I can't introduce it, but they can introduce it. And to be honest with you, lobbyists and interest groups write a lot of legislation in this country. They just don't introduce it. The members of Congress then adopt it and introduce it themselves. Your textbook also talks about, so that would be how you lobby the legislature. Lobbying the executive is also a pretty big deal. So that would be not the president, but it would be all the people who are enforcing the law. Right now, the FBI and the Congress are doing an investigation about like encoding and encryption on your phone.
Apple iPhone.
Huh?
iPhone encryption.
Yes, they're doing this really big investigation about all of that. And so they would have members of interest groups that are particularly knowledgeable in that area, like people that just like their policy specialists, come in and testify. They would meet with people from the executive branch to try to kind of like educate them and persuade them. So it's really the same. The executive branch isn't making the law, but they're enforcing it, and so for them to understand those things is very helpful to them. Your textbook also uses the phrase lobbying the courts. Promise me you won't say that. Yes?
It's a little off topic, but the USAF is offering a scholarship if you write, I don't know if the deadline's passed, I'm pretty sure it hasn't though, if you write an essay about cyber, like, security.
Interesting. Did you write it?
No.
No. Okay, your textbook talks about lobbying the courts. Here's my problem with that. Lobbying means to have like face-to-face interaction and to try to persuade. Nikita, are you okay with somebody lobbying a judge? Like trying to persuade a judge? Why?
Because you don't do that.
See, yeah, you just don't do that, right? Because judges are supposed to be neutral. They're supposed to be above the law, like administering justice and behaving in a fair way. Lobbying has kind of a negative connotation in our country. It has kind of a like you're trying to sell people something, and you don't want that with a judge. So they do interact with the courts